Manic. Yeah, stuff going on here.
You're so funny. I'm watching the recorded game, right? So I have no idea that Curry's going to make.
Oh, is that, I told you. Yeah, you're watching.
I get this
he did
text.
the same thing my friend Rich does. He doesn't watch it live. He goes, "Don't tell me what's going on." I said, "The game's been on for half an hour. What are you watching?" He goes, "I'm watching the first quarter." I said, "Well, what? I don't like to watch commercials." I said, "So you're watching it late? You're watching it recorded?" "Yeah." I said, "That makes a lot of sense. You're not watching it live, but you're mad at me because I'm giving it to you." Yeah.
Well, I wasn't mad.
Come on. I know you weren't. But I mean, I was teasing him. I was giving him a hard time.
Well, I was having dinner with Eva, and so
Does Eva? Oh, Eva had you going out to. You guys were doing something.
Yeah, it's like got home late. And so,
oh, sure. Well, then it's kind of hard to. That makes sense. Sure. Well, lots to talk about here. We'll throw out some stuff. I was thinking talk a little NFL to begin with, and then maybe get into spring training, because his real two bailiwicks, I think, are football first and baseball second.
Okay.
He's okay on basketball, but he's like me and you. He knows his stuff, but he's not like an expert.
Okay, that's fine. And you know what? This morning I kind of woke up
You feeling a little out of it?
Yeah.
Well, if you don't feel like, if you want to just low key it, that's okay.
Yeah, no. So I'll let you guys do most of the talking.
Yeah, that's cool.
Jump in once in a while.
Yeah, and Larry's great. He'll go on as long as we want him for.
That's great.
He's a really good guy. He's like one of my. But Larry's always been my. I always tell him, I said, "Larry, you should be my agent, man," because it's always. I broke him in. I had him on the weekends with me for almost 4 months, and so that kind of gave him got his feet wet. It was great for me because I was like, this kid's going to be. He was only 27 when we started, so that was like almost 20 years ago. Yeah, he's the same age as my wife. Just a kid. Just a kid.
That's right.
Just like you, just a kid. Yeah.
Just like me.
You want to hear that? You want to hear that?
That's right.
I'm a young
guy. I didn't, but now I do. Very much.
You do, man. I don't blame you. I'm past that point. I'm like Tom T. Hall's old dogs and children and watermelon wine.
Good seeing
That's me. Yeah.
And
a little punch this morning. I got up to do this updates at KJ. Yesterday I had the weirdest thing happen. I backed into a car. I was parallel parking, and I just all of a sudden, boom! I was like, oh shit! And I pull away, just to kind of move away. Yeah. And I hear a lot of splinter and glass. Then I hear this. My car is going like this. I get out of the car. The bumper is bent up against my wheel. His car, the back end, the lights and the bumper just all completely shattered. There's glass and plastic everywhere. Mine had like a shard of glass from his light that punctured mine. So it's like somebody took a knife and is stabbing in there. Wow. The bumper's all bent out of shape. And luckily it happened right in front of my buddy's house. So he comes out, takes a crowbar, fixes it so I can drive. And then I left a note for the guy. The guy calls me up and he was really cool about it. He was some poor guy who's on rehab who's going to one of those alky houses, just for a day, he's on the straight and narrow. But and then that's how I find out it's $500 deductible. But then I get a call later in the day, hey, come on in and do the sports. I figured, okay, that'll pay for my deductible. So the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh.
We just want to find out how much it.
Yeah,
And did I tell you before? Did I give you the Hope Merrill certificate before?
The one up in Geyserville? Yeah, you did. You gave me 2 of them. I gave one to my niece, and she used it, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
I really enjoyed it.
Okay, so then...
and you gave me one for a place in Capitola, which I have not used either. I haven't used either one of those.
Okay.
So, they're still good, I think, for about 6 more months.
I've got another one here for the Purple Orchid. Have you heard of them?
No.
In Livermore.
A purple orchid in Livermore?
And then apparently what ended up happening was one of the trade organizations got in touch with me and said, we've got 2 different people who are interested in this. See if you can go get them.
Huh.
So I went out
in Livermore, of all places.
Livermore, I know. But apparently, it's a resort and spa.
Oh. So maybe is it a one-night thing? Maybe Colette and Molly would like to do that. That'd be kind of fun. It's funny. I've never actually been in Livermore. Never been in the town. Never.
Really?
Never. I have never been in that town. Never even driven through it.
No, this one's a 2-day.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well,
it's got to be used during the week, though.
Okay. Well, Hang on to it for a second. Let me ask
Okay.
Colette what she thinks. I don't want to do it unless she wants to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, she probably will want to do it.
Just remember Purple
Yeah,
Orchid.
Purple
in
Orchid, that's easy to
Livermore.
remember.
And,
Sure, sure.
Yeah, it's check it out.
Yeah, okay, that sounds good.
Yeah. It's one of those.
Sounds good.
A little bit on the hoity-toity side.
No,
It's
no.
a little bit more on the expensive side. So.
That's good. She
All
liked. She enjoyed the one up in the Maritime. She enjoyed that. Well, Molly enjoyed that. Molly really liked the Maritime. Colette was like, "Yeah, it's okay." But Molly was like, "This is because it had the swimming pool and it had the the hot tub."
Oil.
Oh, she was into it. She was definitely into it.
You want to do our two little?
Yeah. Let's do that. That sounds good.
All right. This stop it. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
And away we go. Welcome, you're listening to Sports Econ 101. You know our show. It's where we discuss sports topics from a business perspective. I'm your host, Edward Brown, along with my co-host, Bruce McGowan, longtime sports radio personality. Today's show is going to be really special. We're going to have a guest on we've had on before. Who is
Yeah, it's a good friend of mine, a guy that I was talking to you off air about. I broke him in San Francisco at my old radio station, KNBR. He's been there now, gosh, almost as long as I was there. So Larry Krueger is going to join us. He's a sports talk show host, and he works the middays with Gary Radnich, who's kind of a local institution.
And Larry does a very good job, so we'll be glad to have him back on. We're also, at each commercial break, going to ask a sports trivia question where we're giving away vacations to the first email with the correct answer. And the vacations are not sponsored by the radio station, but by Lighthouse Resort and Marina, which is located, by the way, about 1 hour northeast of San Francisco. Got to check them out at lighthouseresortandmarina.com. And those vacations are free. They only request a $75 cleaning fee to cover those housekeeping expenses. Let's see, you can also listen to Sports Econ 101 on iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, Sports Byline USA, and CRN. And by the way, are
aren't we on the Armed Forces Radio Network?
we are. Yes, we're actually international.
Wow.
Come to think of it. That's why we have to take hard breaks, and it's kind of hard because I have to tell the guests, hey, hold off, we'll come back. Our today's trivia theme is which baseball team was who?
Oh, I can do that. I can do that one.
Yeah, I think actually you're going to know most of it. Out of the three.
If it's anything after 1900, if it's pre-1900, it might be a little sketchy there.
Well, this one goes back to the 1600s. Can you get that?
Whoa! No. Whoa! Wait a second. What sport are we talking about
that's
here?
right.
Rounders?
Yeah, that's right. No,
Town ball?
Town ball. Yeah. See, I remember all that.
Yeah.
That was a great Ken Burns.
Yeah.
That was really good.
People don't know much about town ball. That's the American. Well, we can get it. That's an early version of baseball, American baseball.
And I also wanted to touch on DeGrom. Is that how you pronounce his name? He didn't sign the Mets contract. It was a sign of dispute. Too low a payday because the minimum contract.
Come on.
I don't know, what is it, 600?
Oh, gee, I feel so badly for these guys. I can't buy a condo for that kind of money. No, maybe you can for what, $650,000. Yeah,
that's right. Stay with us. You're listening to Sports Econ 101. We'll be right back.
She's so poor.
I feel sorry for these guys.
I do too.
Now, why don't they just?
I mean, Latrell Sprewell. I can't. I gotta feed my kids. Come on.
Well, he's got to feed them silver-laced caviar, probably.
Yeah, exactly. Good almighty. Old dogs and children and watermelon wine.
I've never heard that before.
Tom C. Hall, yeah, it's a good one. It was a very, very popular song back in the 1980s, late 80s. Yeah.
Sounds like something from the 50s.
And old dogs and children and watermelon wine.
All right, let's see if we'll learn it around.
Anyway, this is going out live on the webcast, so now we're really.
That's true.
Yeah. All right. Sorry about that, folks. Larry Krueger. Hope he'll answer the phone. Pick up the phone, Larry.
As Arnold would say, pick up the phone.
Pick up the phone now.
I think I've got the correct phone number here.
He'll pick it up. Good call.
Man, I had hand surgery
Ah.
a couple days ago, and
Hand
this one
surgery.
didn't work as well as this one. I had this one 5 years ago. And
Yeah.
I had to go back. It's painful.
Thank goodness. This is weird because usually he has a answer machine.
Wireless customer customer you are calling is not available.
Okay.
Try again later.
All right.
We're
trying to reach you.
Trying to reach you.
Trying to reach you.
Let's double check it. Pretty sure I have that. Let's see. Okay, now you texted me
Okay.
925202.
Okay, hang on a second. I'm pretty sure
I
that's
think
the right.
it's I think it's 212
Okay, well, hang on. Hang on. Let me make sure.
because I had that mistake last time.
Okay. Let me get this here. Larry. Just give me a second here.
You can try both numbers, you know.
Krueger. All right, here we go. 212.
Okay, that's
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's all right.
212.
Yeah, I had that last time.
That's my fault.
It's
My fault. My fault. My fault.
I'm going to spring training tomorrow.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that sounds like fun. Have a great time. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, two. I don't know. I give you 202. What? No, what's going on? Oh. What is that?
It was a call that I missed,
Oh, okay.
and I had a feeling it was probably
Okay. Oh, I'm just getting Larry back on the. I'm getting it back here.
Okay.
Hang on a second. All right. So we're all set. We'll get it now.
Is he ready?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I hope so. I hope he'll answer this time. He should. He's. I mean,
He's pretty good.
yeah, he was great last time. But it's right around 2:30, isn't it?
2:45.
Oh, geez. Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry.
That's it.
That's my bad. I thought I got here. Time goes by. We're having a good time. It goes by fast. All right. So, give him a shot.
All right, let's try him again. All right.
212 925 212 0812.
That's
All right.
right. Yeah.
There we go. Hopefully he'll pick up here. Oh, please pick up, Larry. Please, Larry. Please pick up. Ah. This is pissing me off here.
Forget?
No, he didn't finish it.
So, I mean, you must have talked to him last night.
I talked to him this morning.
Talked to him this
Yeah.
morning. He had another number?
I'll try.
Wireless customer you.
Let's try it. We got a recorded message. Which says, what does it say? It says he's unavailable?
Not available, yeah.
Okay, I should get. This is very strange. Let's wait a few minutes here.
Okay.
Hopefully he will send me a text back here.
Yeah, it was, I have what they call trigger finger. And it, you go like this, then
What is it, just like an impulse to squeeze or something? Or
no, just like this, it just like won't open and like that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I had it on this hand and got it fixed, no problem.
And what do they have to do?
Well, they have to go in almost sight unseen, and they cut the sheath So that opens up because it's getting locked in there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny, all the little idiosyncrasies in the human body that you have no control over?
Yep.
Your body is like it's almost like a little solar system, and you're just sort of an observer in the middle of it.
Oh yeah,
I can't control anything.
I mean, a single cell, which we can't really
Yeah.
see, is more complicated than a space shuttle.
Isn't that amazing? What amazes me is that the only thing that you can control in the entire world is how you feel about things.
Yes.
And even then, sometimes it's hard if you have some kind of chemical
Oh yeah,
problem.
that's true.
You know?
Yeah.
God. What is going on with Larry here?
The Royals find Tim Lincecum's secret throwing spot. Are asked to delete.
Hang on, let me try something. 925-212-0812.
212-0812.
I'm trying on my phone.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm about to lose my power, unfortunately. Down to 6%.
You need I've got.
Oh, do you have a little booster?
Yeah. It's not an iPhone, is it?
It is.
Oh.
There you are. Hey, Larry, we've been trying to call you. I guess. Oh, that's okay. Oh, no problem, man. Should we just call you now? Okay. Oh, no problem. Okay, we'll call you right back. Hang on. Bye. He was on a conference call.
Gotcha.
So.
Okay. So he's got one.
Yeah, he's ready to go.
Want to,
don't need it.
No.
Don't need it. I was worried that I was going to run out before he was going to try to reach me. Oh, God.
Hello.
Larry.
Hey.
There we go. How you doing, man?
Brown and Bruce McGowan.
Hey, I got to ask you a question. Is it pouring over there as much as it is over here in Marin?
Oh yeah.
It is coming down, cats and dogs. It's been coming down for like over an hour and a half. I mean, really hard.
And I get to go on an airplane tomorrow to go to spring training.
You may not even see a game, man. Yeah.
All right.
All right.
You are ready.
Should we talk a little football at the start?
Yeah, let's do it.
And by the way, I got off at 10:30. I didn't see any or haven't heard any news since because I haven't really been paying attention. Have there been any major signings that you've heard of in the last couple hours?
Well, Jed sold the team. Balky's out. Kelly's out. They've traded Kaepernick. They've released Gabbard. Montana's the GM. And they're going with a Canadian League quarterback.
Sounds good to me.
No.
That sounds good. I like it. Keep talking, man. That sounds just that fun.
This morning.
Yeah.
The Jets are supposedly not as interested, but the Browns, the Broncos are.
In Kaepernick.
And Kaepernick.
Okay. Okay.
So,
cool.
Intriguing, a lot of intriguing angles.
Yeah, a lot of player movement too. I was surprised the number of players that have been moving around. Anyway,
We should get started.
yeah, let's go.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Here we go. All right, let's go. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Bruce McGowan. Bruce, who do we have on the phone?
We got my good friend Larry Krueger. We used to work together for a number of years at KNBR. Larry still holds forth there with Gary Radnich, who's kind of a local icon in the Bay Area. Gary's been around for 30 plus years. Larry is now approaching 20 at KNBR, which is quite a run. And Larry, before we get into the football, I got to ask you, for the benefit of our listeners here, a lot of them aren't that familiar perhaps with the San Francisco Bay Area. But as we know, in working in this business, there are people that stay in one area and one market for their entire lives. And I got to ask you about your partner, Gary Radnich, because he's from the Bay Area and has spent most of his life here. And what's it like working with somebody like a Gary Radnich, who's kind of a larger-than-life figure?
Oh, we have a lot of fun. I mean, he's a fun guy to do a show with. He brings a lot of energy, and he's got a lot of things to say, and he knows a lot of people, and it's never boring. Always a good time.
Gary's opinionated? Really?
It is fun to listen to. I have to say, between the two of you guys, you're the insider. You have a lot of the inside knowledge. Gary has that experience. It's a nice combination. Well, I'm sorry.
Let me ask you. Hey, Larry, how did you like Lee Steinberg's Super Bowl party?
I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. We had a good time. We did the broadcast from there. It was the day before Super Bowl Sunday, and We had Ron Jaworski and Paxton Lynch and Brent Jones and Lee himself, and we had a great time. You know, we really had a good time.
Yeah. I got a picture with Anquan Bolden.
I mean, those things are fun. I mean, those things.
Yeah.
I thought the San Francisco did such a nice job of showcasing the Super Bowl, and I'd like to see San Francisco be in the regular rotation. I think it would be a great thing for the city of San Francisco to be in the regular Super Bowl rotation.
Yeah, I took a picture with Anquan Bolden, and I put my hand on him. It was like putting a hand on rocks. The guy is just solid.
Yeah, and he
He was there as well, and we got a chance to talk to him on the night that he became the NFL's Man of the Year. So it was a great party, and what can I say? It was like almost like a Hollywood party. They had a big runway where you could take pictures and everything. It was quite the shindig.
Yeah, that was good times. Larry Krueger from KNBR Radio in San Francisco joining us. Hey, let's talk some NFL football. The team that really, one of the teams that's really made a lot of noise thus far, and they had a lot of money to spend. You knew they were going to go out and be aggressive. The Oakland Raiders, they signed today, according to ESPN, they signed Kansas City cornerback Sean Smith, 6'4", very, very coveted cornerback. Yesterday they go out as we speak and got Bruce Irvin, outstanding outside linebacker with Seattle. They go out and pick up another offensive lineman who's supposedly pretty good. I mean, how do you see the Raiders next year with the moves they're making? It looks like they could maybe even challenge Denver. Who knows?
Oh, I love the Raiders. Are you kidding me? I think they're the hottest team in football right now as far as personnel. I mean, they've added in the last few years tremendous personnel. Amari Cooper, Michael Crabtree in free agency, obviously Derek Carr, Khalil Mack. Now you add Bruce Irvin, rush the passer opposite Khalil Mack. November you'll have Alden Smith as well. Plus you got Mario Edwards. You got other defensive linemen that can rush the passer a little bit. You know, I like them up front. They need help in the secondary, but they get big number one corner in Sean Smith, who's not old. He's a phenomenal pickup for the Raiders. So that was exactly what they needed. You still need to bolster their offensive line, but I love those pickups. And then, Osamele, big Ravens guard, has experience at guard and tackle. And, I mean, Gabe Jackson, I think, is an all-pro kind of guard. And you've got Hudson, who's a big-time player at center. If you play Osamele at guard, what an interior you have. And then you have potential to use him at tackle as well. It'll be interesting to see what else they do at the tackle spot. So there's some really good tackles will be on the board when they pick in the middle of the first round.
That's kind of fun to see the Raiders, after all these years of being down for so long, finally becoming a factor again. Another team, unfortunately, right now that is the epitome of dysfunctional front office behavior, and the Cleveland Browns. Seems like everybody wants to leave that place. Alex Mack, who went to Cal, is one of the players that left yesterday. I guess they lost something like 4 players.
You know, they've been in disarray ever since Otto Graham left.
It's been a while. But it has been, it's true. I mean, sadly, this new franchise, and I say the new Browns because they were born after the old Browns left and went to Baltimore. Larry, they have just been the epitome of dysfunction. What is going on with that franchise?
I blame Sonny Weaver. I have to blame Sonny Weaver.
Who is Sonny Weaver?
Sonny Weaver is Kevin Costner.
Right.
The general manager.
That's right.
Browns.
Very good.
Draft day.
Yeah.
The Browns have problems. I mean, but I'll say this: they're an interesting trade partner if they do partner with the 49ers on a deal for Kaepernick.
Mm-hmm.
In addition to a whole array of picks that they have, they also have some interesting players on that team that they may be interested in moving. Isaiah Crowell ran through the 49er defense in the matchup in Cleveland earlier this year. He's a nice-looking running back and would be a great compliment to Carlos Hyde. Markevius Mingo, the former LSU outside rusher, hasn't blossomed there, but he still has a lot of talent. Connor Shaw is a quarterback who was a nice quarterback who was a good player at South Carolina, would be a good backup quarterback for the 49ers. And of course there's Josh Gibson, the wide receiver.
Not to be confused with Josh Gibson, the old Negro baseball player. I always think of that. Whenever I hear that guy's name.
The black paper.
Yeah.
Gibson is another guy, or Josh Gordon, I should say.
Okay, yeah.
Josh Gordon, the receiver, is a big receiver who would be an impactful guy for the 49ers. They're looking for a big receiver. He may have worn out his welcome because of all the problems he's had with substances there in Cleveland, but he would be an intriguing player. So they're Cleveland has some pieces in addition to their picks if they wanted to put together a package to attract Kaepernick. In addition to the fact that these teams could flip-flop in the first round, where the 49ers could move from 7-2 in exchange for Kaepernick.
Radio sportscaster and talk show host Larry Krueger joining us from KNBR Radio in San Francisco. And Larry, you know, one of the things that surprises me when I think about teams and players jumping around is I'm looking at the number of players that Jacksonville. Now they weren't huge names, but they did sign Chris Ivory of the Jets. They signed the Panthers punter Brad Norman. There are a number of players migrating to Jacksonville of all places. That's not exactly the center of a power in the NFL. What's going on with that franchise?
Well, what's going on there, Bruce, is that they had more cap room than any other team in the NFL. They entered this free agent signing period with nearly $80 million available cap room, and so players' favorite color is green.
Yeah, that's true.
Put it on the table, guys are going to go get it. The Jaguars potentially could be an ascending club. Blake Bortles is a nice young quarterback. They have some pieces in place on the defensive side, and maybe some teams view them as a team that could be on the come. But it's really about money, pure money, and they had a lot to spend, and that's why they attracted a lot of players.
And what's the latest with Manziel?
Well, I've heard a number of things. One is I would imagine Von Miller seems to feel like Johnny Manziel would be welcome in some capacity in Denver.
Wow.
So that's interesting. Of course, they were teammates at Texas A&M, so I can see that connection. But it's hard to say with Manziel. I mean, in the game against the 49ers this year in Cleveland, he played pretty good football, but he has such a issue with just kind of avoiding the party scene. He just seems to be wed to his partying. And in the NFL, it's pros. You got to be wed to the process of playing pro football. And until he commits, he's like that single guy that doesn't want to get married. I mean, the NFL for him is commitment, and he hasn't made the commitment.
That's a dirty word, by the way. I remember that word well when I was in my 30s. Commitment. I was like, every time a woman used that word, I'd run for the hills.
All right, stay with us, guys. We got to cut to our first commercial break here, or actually second break for the trivia question.
There you go.
The theme is, which baseball team was who? Bruce says he's going to know all of this.
I should.
Today's Baltimore Oriole franchise was called what in the 1953 season?
There you go.
Right?
I know that one.
See, I knew you know that. Okay, the first email with the correct answer is going to win a free 3-day 2
Larry probably knows that one.
Okay, don't answer it yet.
Okay.
No.
Right.
Email
Oh,
Edward.
yeah,
Don't say it yet. Email Edward at sportsecon101.com. The answer to that question. Don't touch this dial. Don't touch that dial. We're going to be right back with Sports Econ 101.
Good stuff, Larry. We're having a fun time. This is great. How's today's show going, or did it go? I should say.
Ours?
Yeah, how'd it go today?
Yeah. What did we do? Yeah, it was all right. I mean,
You usually have a guest or two, don't you?
yeah. I mean, it's always pretty fun. I mean, who was on today? I'm trying to think. Nobody like spectacular.
Have you had Rick Welts on before? I wonder what kind of. I've been trying to get him, and for some reason I'm not having much luck. I get better luck getting Bob Myers than Rick Welts of all people.
Yeah,
No, I haven't had Rick Wells on.
I mean,
I've seen him at different cocktail parties.
It's funny. Well, it's funny because I knew him slightly back when I was in Seattle. He was the PR director up there. He was just a kid, and I was just relatively young guy. So he's a very bright guy, very interesting guy. Anyway.
Move on to spring.
Yeah.
I can't even think of who we had on today, but he's spectacular.
Well, you're like me. You can remember what happened in 1960, but when it comes to 5 minutes ago, it's like, I don't know about that.
Well, Larry, how old are you?
46.
You're just a kid.
Yeah, Larry was born, I think, a week before my. You're born in January, right?
January 12th.
Yeah, he's born a week.
January 17th.
He was born a week. Oh, really?
Our Capricorns, yes.
Oh, Larry's born a week before my wife. Exactly a week before my wife was born.
Well,
How
Well,
about that?
I was dominant before she ever showed up.
That's right.
Dominant. I own this place.
I own it. It's mine. I am in charge.
All right, here we
It's
go.
like Bob Agnew when he walked in.
I'm here first.
It's like Bob Agnew when he walked into KNBR. I am in charge.
Really?
Oh, it was not really like that, but it was funny because once Bob got into that situation, that was his dream job. That was his dream job. Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Again, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Bruce McGowan. When we cut to the first commercial break with a trivia question, we asked this question. Today's Baltimore Oriole franchise was called what in the 1953 season?
I'm going to ask Larry if he knows. I know what the name of the team was, but I mean, Larry might know. It might be a little. It's before your time, Larry. So I don't know if you would.
The Orioles before the Orioles.
Yeah. Where did they move from? They were in another city.
Yeah, because the Orioles have been around since the 1800s.
Yeah. Do you want me to give you this one? Because it's a tough one. If you haven't been into baseball before the 50s and you weren't even born before you were born in 1970, there's no reason for you to know this. It's the old St. Louis Browns.
That is correct.
And they were terrible. They were in one World Series in their entire history in 1944.
Against the Yankees, right?
No, it was against the St. Louis Cardinals, and the Cardinals beat them. Stan
Really?
Musial's first World Series, 1944. Yeah.
Wow, so that's even closer than the Kansas City Royals, St. Louis Cardinals in 1985.
Oh yeah. There's been a few. I mean, Philadelphia. I'm not sure if that. Well, anyway, we'll get off on a tangent talking about that. We got Larry Krueger on the phone. I got to ask you. You mentioned Colin Kaepernick in our first segment, Larry. And there's a fascinating guy. Another guy is the guy from Washington, RG3. And there is one team that you mentioned also that is looking for a quarterback, and who knows if they're going to pick up, one of those guys or Johnny Manziel. That's the Denver Broncos. Denver, for being a championship team, they lost a lot of talent here. Trevathan left. They've lost Osweiler. They've lost a couple of guys. So what's going on with Denver? And you think they've got an interest in either one of those three?
Well, I definitely think they're interested in Kaepernick. I mean, I think. And they lost C.J. Anderson, by the way. The Cal Bear.
That's right, yeah.
Had such a great game in Super Bowl down at Levi's. He bolted today to Miami. Yeah, Denver's. I mean, they're a team that they're. I think they've kind of been caught behind the eight ball a little bit as far as what kind of cap room were they going to have? What was John Elway going to do? They had to have a bunch of different contingency plans of. Who they were going to pursue because they didn't know exactly how much cap room and when they were going to have it.
Yeah, Elway could always put a uniform back on.
Yeah. No, but I think Denver also is a team that has a lot of talent, and they're going to be good going forward. The Osweiler thing was interesting. I think what happened is Denver looked at a guy that made 7 starts and they said, "Here, we'll put $45 million on the table." Houston ran that price up. Denver was like, "Hey, look, man, you made 7 starts. We're committing $15 million a year to you, and you've made 7 starts. You're 5-2." So they kind of probably had kind of like a hey, take it or leave it approach. And I think Osweiler read the tea leaves and said, "Hey, Houston's offense is much better fit for his skill set than what Denver does with the quarterback." And I also think that maybe Osweiler feared taking over a team that's coming off a championship. I would look at that as an opportunity. Other people look at that as a burden. May have been the latter, and I think that's why he moved on. So it'll be interesting. I think Denver will be the team where Kaepernick wants to go, but if I'm the 49ers, I think the price has got to be pretty high in Denver because there's a potential with that defense, the running game they'll have there, that he could really do exceptionally well. And if I'm Trent Baalke, if I don't get a high pick for this guy, he goes on and leads his team to a Super Bowl or two. This is the kind of thing that sustains my career and hurts me badly. So it'll be interesting to see what the price tag will actually end up being.
He should take advice from Steve Young. He followed in Montana's footsteps and did just as well.
Easier said than done. Another name that intrigues me, DeMarco Murray. He only spent a year in Philadelphia. Now all of a sudden he's jumping to Tennessee Titans.
You know what? We don't think he'll be as successful in Cleveland. Work something out with the Browns. The other thing in the mix is who does Hugh?
Oh, we lost you there. Are you still with us?
Larry?
I think we lost him. Just for a second.
Okay.
We'll have to call him back.
We'll have to call him back.
Yeah, no, it was interesting when he was talking about while you're getting him. I was going to ask him a little bit about. I mentioned, and I think that was the problem. He didn't hear my question, which was about DeMarco Murray of the Tennessee Titans, and who is now signed with the Tennessee Titans. And it's interesting. DeMarco Murray, of course, was the premier running back of the Dallas Cowboys. Then he goes to Philadelphia, gets less work there in terms of the amount of opportunities he had to carry the ball, and the team doesn't go to the playoffs, and suddenly the Titans pick him up, and they worked out a great deal to get him. Apparently, they not only reworked his contract, got him at a cheaper price, but all they had to do to get this guy, and I guess it wasn't a free agency move necessarily. It was a trade. Anyway,
let me just make sure, Larry, we got you back on, didn't we?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, I was going to ask you about this DeMarco Murray move. And I'm a little confused here because I heard him talking today about the new team and how excited he is. Was that a free agency move or was that a trade in a? There was some.
No, he was
draft.
traded.
I thought so. Yeah. Now, it sounded as if he really wanted to make this move, though, and I'm kind of surprised, given the fact that Tennessee had an awful offensive line. They didn't protect Marcus Mariota very well. But maybe there's a sign that team is turning a corner, and I guess that's what he was thinking, huh?
Well, it's a young team, Bruce. I mean, they've got Taylor Lewan at one tackle. They're going to draft Laramie Tunsil, the first pick in the draft, probably here in a few weeks. And so those are going to move Lewan to the other tackle spot, play the right tackle. He played left tackle last year. Those are two outstanding offensive line building blocks, and they like the eye back. That's what DeMarco Murray is. He's a true eye back, and he really wasn't a fit in Philly, and so I think that's why they moved him. And it was a ill thought out signing by Chip Kelly at the time because he really didn't fit what Chip wanted to do. It was like and Ryan Matthews wound up being significantly more effective there in Philadelphia this year. So maybe Murray moves on to Tennessee where he'll probably be more effective.
Larry Krueger is joining us, a sports talk host from radio station KNBR, the all-sports station in San Francisco. I don't know if you heard this little item. I saw it on the wire today, Larry. I was doing the morning updates at KGO Radio, the sister station for KNBR, and it was interesting. Listen to this story and tell me if you heard this, because maybe Edwards heard this one too. It's fascinating. 7th grader Ben Goodell has earned honors at a Massachusetts school science fair for his demonstration on how footballs can deflate on their own. Apparently, Ben Goodell, no relation to the NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, tells the Daily Item he wanted to prove that the New England Patriot quarterback Tom Brady did not deflate footballs in the Deflategate scandal. Apparently, he exposed properly inflated footballs to different weather conditions, humidity and snow, and the footballs dropped by 2 PSIs after 2 hours every time. So he won some award at this science fair. It sounds like maybe a 7th grader has solved this Deflategate scandal. Pretty funny, don't you think?
Yeah, but is 2 PSI enough to change it?
America's youth.
There you go. They figure it out.
Youth.
Yeah.
I love
We're watching tons of TV and reacting to that.
Well, how much is a football
Nowhere
normal?
the continent. Can he name all the continents?
Yeah,
That's a good question. I am not sure. I think it's 36 maybe or 38 or something.
Yeah, so
but,
you're talking about,
but,
6%
yeah.
or something.
I don't know about you guys, but my feeling about this whole Deflategate thing is it's just a tempest in a teapot. It's like Roger Goodell inventing something to sort of take away some intensity and some criticism on some other areas that he's not been handling very well. I don't know, what's your read on it, Larry? Because you're covering this.
My read on it is that it's a direct response to not getting it done in Spygate.
Yep.
He didn't feel like he penalized Belichick enough in Spygate. Couldn't do more than he did there. And so he went after them aggressively in the Deflategate situation. The worst part about it is you're smearing. I mean, it's one thing if you have a performance-enhancing drug story, like in Major League Baseball, but you're inventing a smear campaign, smear one of the best players in your league, one of the most marketable players in your league, because you're bitter that you lost out in the previous ruling against his head coach. I found that to be very petty, a gigantic waste of breath.
I'm so glad I'm hearing you say this because I'm of the same mind, and I also think that it doesn't speak very highly for Roger Goodell to be that vengeful and unprofessional. To me, it's just.
Not only that, Bruce, the fact that this story was morphed into the Super Bowl coverage.
Yeah.
It's become. This story is the reason Tom Brady was booed at the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah, that's right.
There's all these people that don't know anything about football that think that somehow this guy's career is anything but 100% legitimate. Why? Because of this? I mean, this is the biggest. That's the injustice.
Yeah.
Is that there'll always be some blemish on this record that you know and I know had nothing to do with what made Tom Brady a great or winning or successful quarterback. Yet there's going to be this public, but nothing.
A star after an asterisk after his name.
Well, from the ridiculous to the sublime, how about the play of the Denver Broncos defense? Had you ever thought you'd see a team that had the dominant kind of defense that they did, with an offense that really wasn't anything special, win a Super Bowl? There have been some great defenses, but usually they're accompanied by pretty good offenses on the other side of the line. I was not impressed with the Broncos' offense in that game, but Denver's defense was unworldly.
Yeah, it's funny. I did the show at Lee Steinberg's draft party, right? And I'd been picking Carolina most of the couple weeks prior to the thing. But I decided I was going to really break it down and look at the thing and study it up and look at all the numbers, see if I could just try to put together. And the more I started looking at it, I'm like, all right, Denver's outside rush guys, Ware and Miller, are going to beat Michael Orr and Remmers for Carolina. So there's going to be outside pressure on Cam Newton. And then looking at the receiver matchups, I'm thinking Jericho Cotchery and Corey Brown and Ginn are not being these three corners, Talib and Harris and Roby.
Hey Larry, stay with us 1 second. I'm getting a notice about a quick break here. Okay.
Yeah, hold that thought.
Hold that thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
The comparison of the defensive backs.
Next question. Before becoming the Los Angeles Dodgers in 1958, the franchise was called Brooklyn Dodgers. What was the franchise name immediately prior to that?
I got that one too.
I knew you got that. Stay with us. Sports Econ 101. We'll be right back.
Sorry about that, Larry.
Sorry,
We're gonna these hard breaks they throw at us.
Because we're, it's Armed Forces Radio too. So
Armed Forces Radio. You're going to be heard in Ramstel Air Force Base in Germany, Larry.
Uh-huh.
There you go. There you go, my friend. What was the name of that? You used to do a cable radio or a satellite radio show for a couple of years, didn't you? What was the name of that company? I'm trying to remember. It was a big, very.
Mad Dog Radio.
Yeah. What happened? No, what happened? Chris was.
Mad Dog Radio. Mad Dog Radio still exists.
Is it still exist? Is Chris still doing his show?
Yeah, he does the show.
Okay. Because I knew he had.
They like the time slot that I did. They never put a live show there again. They replay some of Chris's stuff.
Kind of like what happened to me at KNBR. They just figured they'd save money and run.
All about the money.
Yeah.
Tell you what, we'll let's finish up your comment about the Super Bowl, and then we'll move on to spring training.
Yeah.
How's that?
Okay.
All right, sounds good. Thanks again, Larry. All right, here we go. Well, welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Again, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Bruce McGowan. Trivia question number 2. Before becoming the Los Angeles Dodgers in 1958, the franchise was named the Brooklyn Dodgers. What was the franchise name immediately prior to that?
Well, they had a couple of nicknames. They had the Bridegrooms, and they also had a name called the Robins. And the reason they were called the Robins was that the guy named Robinson was their the manager, and he was quite a character, quite an interesting character.
And that is the correct answer.
Yeah, Wilbert Robinson.
Yeah, that's right.
He was quite a character.
The next question may be a little tougher for you.
All right.
Okay, so Larry Krueger from KNBR, go ahead and finish off what you were saying about your analysis of the Super Bowl.
Well, no, I was just saying on the Super Bowl, I didn't really see that Denver was going to shut down Carolina's offense. Even though Carolina statistically has this great offense, they didn't have the tackles to block the outside rushers. They didn't have the receivers to win on the outside against Denver's corners. And when you don't have that combo, then it's a matter of how athletic are your linebackers. Denver's linebackers are very athletic. Denver just kind of snuffed out Carolina's offense.
Well, Cam can only do so much. He just couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
Totally limited.
Okay,
Yeah, I was going to say let's talk some spring training. We talked a couple of weeks ago to a fellow reporter who covers the action down at Arizona, and he was saying he thought right now that it's pretty easy to see that the Mets, the Cubs, and maybe the Giants are the teams to beat right now in their respective divisions in the National League. Now, how do you see it, Larry? Do you think those are the 3 teams to watch?
Yeah, probably. But I mean, I like these Nationals this year a lot. I mean, you got to remember they got Yasmero Petit as their long man. They've got a very talented rotation. They've got the best player in the league in Bryce Harper. They added Daniel Murphy from the Mets, who was the Mets' best clutch hitter in October. I like the Nationals. Especially, I love Dusty Angle, where Dusty in his first year. I mean, his first year in San Francisco, he was great. They won 103 games. First year in Chicago was his best year there. This is a guy, first year can really turn things around. I like the Nationals.
How about the Mets? I mean, the Mets with that pitching, it's so
I
deep.
love the Mets pitching. I love the Mets pitching, but something, Mets aren't as deep as the Nationals. I think losing Daniel Murphy hurts their lineup. We'll see. I mean, I like the Mets arms. The Mets arms are phenomenal. The Mets arms, if they keep emerging, and Mats joins the party, they could take it to another level. But I'm guessing that there's a little bit of fallback and that the Nationals get them this year, and that the Mets kind of use this year as a growing year, and they really load up for next year.
You see the article about the Royals finding Tim Lincecum's secret throwing spot, and then they were asked to leave. It's like they were, not spying on him, but they come across him throwing, and you go,
That's a very odd response.
Yeah.
Considering this guy's going to be at the same team if they're interested in committing billions of dollars to him.
Yeah.
Like a week.
Who's going to pick him up, by the way, Larry? Who do you think is going to go after Tim Lincecum? I mean, there's a lot of teams that need pitching, and the guy's got a live arm. He may not be what he used to be, but he still has never had any arm problems. I would think
I
somebody.
Yes, I would say teams that would show interest would be like Padres and Dodgers, possibly, and maybe the A's, possibly Seattle. Maybe in some American League team that's free, but I don't think anybody's going to be looking at any kind of. I doubt you would get any kind of guaranteed money or anything significantly over the major league minimum. I can't imagine he's going to get any kind of meaningful contract.
Well, that's got to be demoralizing. You're making millions and being a starting pitcher, then getting thrown into being middle reliever.
I think it's more demoralizing from the standpoint of just ego, though, because financially I think he's in pretty good shape. But, the sad thing is, Larry, we talk about him, we talk about Pablo Sandoval and some of the personalities, Hunter Pence on the Giants. And the Giants always had such a colorful clubhouse. They still do, but it's kind of, we're sort of selfish out here in the Bay Area. We like these characters, and I guess it just chips a little bit away from that magical sort of element that we had for a couple of years in San Francisco.
Well, I mean, you didn't even know Tim Lincecum until you did. And the Giants have a bevy of young arms that have a ton of talent that are ready to break through. I mean, I understand that sentiment, but at the same time, I just watched the Giants play on the MLB Network over the weekend, and I saw no less than 5 guys that I thought all were major league caliber arms. Chris Stratton, Alberto Mejia, Chase Johnson, Eric Law, Ray Black. All these guys are filthy. And they're all, and a few of them are almost ready. So they don't have room for, hold on to a sentimental value type thing. I mean, if their rosters were 28, and you say, yeah, you know what, this guy's meaningful to the community, and he may get it together physically, and we'll just float him on the roster. And they don't. They have 25-man rosters, so every guy on that roster's got to have a meaningful role, and he's got to contribute.
And is Tim still looking?
Wait, they got better guys. They have better options.
Yeah.
Is Tim? You think he's still looking to try to get a starting role?
Yeah, I heard his agent do an interview, and he said that he'd like to have a starting role somewhere. So
That's going to be
that's
tough.
another reason
really
they're not in the mix. The Giants have about 4 or 5 other starters that they'd like to go to if Kane or Peavy can't do it.
We have a lot of fun out here on the West Coast because the Giants have won 3 World Series in the last 6 years, and they've done it on the even years, and this is an even year. Is that, obviously that's not a reason to support the Giants going to win the World Series this year, but on paper, they look like they're pretty good. They could be, back in the mix this year.
If I had to predict it, I would say that their rotation is going to look different at the end of the year than it looks right now.
Oh, no question.
I don't know, and that's not necessarily good news.
No.
But I've got fiscal concerns about Cueto and Kane and Peavy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, PV.
And I think all three of those guys are not going to give you full seasons.
No.
And so I think there's going to be opportunity for that next tier of pitchers: Clayton Blackburn, Chris Heston, possibly Adalberto Mejia, maybe Kyle Crick, maybe Tyler Beatty, maybe Chris Stratton. There's a number of these guys are going to get an opportunity, I think. Or you may see them make a deal and move some of these guys for a veteran. I think they'll need to have another starter just besides that.
I always wondered when, you have a pitcher who is doing poorly, and then for some reason another team gets all excited about picking him up.
Well, sometimes they think maybe they can see something that's wrong with his arm or his motion, and the pitching coach gets all excited about that. I mean, we've seen that happen too, haven't we, Larry? Where a guy goes to another team, and all of a sudden he becomes the second coming of a Hall of Famer.
Well, don't discount it. I mean, too, there's also, there's a couple different factors at play here. One, the leagues are quite a bit different. I mean, going from the American League to the National League, they're more over-aggressive teams in the National League. The American League hitters are typically a little bit more patient. They'll wait it out a little bit more. And then also, I think in this era where you're playing the unbalanced schedule, if you will, and there's so many head-to-head divisions, I think what you see, you saw it a lot in free agency this year, guys who are almost specialists in a division where they want to stay in that division because they know I've played in the American League East the last 5 years. I know Tampa, Boston, the Yankees, Toronto, or I played in the NL West. Well, I want to stay in the NL West and move around to those teams because I know those teams. Don't discount that angle either these days.
That's true. If you play consistently against the Dodgers and you know exactly who you're going to be pitching against, all scouting reports and all that. But now, speaking of the Dodgers, they always seem to be spending a lot of money and always trying to get to that top, and they always seem to be falling. How do they look this year?
Well, it's going to be a very interesting year for the Dodgers because they are relying on some of the game's greatest talents and some of the youngest talents. I think their pitching rotation is going to blow up physically. It already is starting to. Brett Anderson's going to be out for a while. Ryu's not 100% healthy. I've seen Kenta Maeda, and he clearly has talent, but he looks like a guy who's not going to be that durable. He's used to pitching not every 5 days, and that's what they pitch once a week in Japan. He's got to pitch every 5 days, and he's kind of diminutive. I expect their rotation around Kershaw to blow up. Now, that being said, they have two arms in the minor leagues that are viewed as the two of the top young arms in all of baseball, and that's Julio Urias, the lefty, who some people think is one of the best young pitchers in the game, and then Jose De Leon, who I did see the other day pitch in the Cactus League, and he is really nasty, a big right-hander, big power right-hander. So those two guys impact things quite a bit. And then position player-wise, Corey Seager. Is Corey Seager going to struggle and be this guy who kind of doesn't have a great first year, or is he going to be what he potentially can be, which is like a 30-homer, 100 RBI, 300 hitting shortstop? He can be an MVP candidate. If he steps into the big leagues and is an MVP candidate because he's got that kind of talent, then LA could be a monster. If Wade bounces back and has a huge year, if Peterson bounces back from that horrendous second half where he had 128, the Dodgers have huge talent. They also have huge volatility in their talent, and they get a lot of questions. So they could be a 105-win team, or they could be an 80-win team, or not an 80-win team, but like an 85-win team.
Even if they win 105, they always seem to lose it in the NLDS.
Haven't been to the World Series in San Diego.
Very volatile team, but they're also the most talented team in the game.
Hey, before we let you go, I got to ask you about Kansas City because they lost Johnny Cueto. Two-prong question there relating to, you mentioned Cueto, and I always felt the same way you did, Larry. When I saw the Giants sign him, I was kind of cautiously optimistic because he's had that violent motion. He's had some injury problems. First of all, losing Cueto, how much of an effect is that going to have on Kansas City, and how do they look? And then secondly, is Cueto going to be the answer to the number 2 spot for the Giants in their rotation?
Yeah, first on Cueto, it was a huge roll of the dice, $130 million. Really, the only thing that can work well for the Giants is that he has 2 great years and then opts out. He's got the opt-out after the second year. That's probably the best hope in this thing. Otherwise, I think this deal could be really, really bad, especially physically if he breaks down early. Think about that. If he breaks down early, going to opt in after the second year. So, it potentially is a 6 or 7 year deal for the Giants commitment-wise. It's a massive commitment. And their track record on these commitments is really, really bad.
Mm.
So, I'm very, as much as I want to be an optimist in the spring, I can't be that optimistic. Now,
We're thinking Barry Zito here, huh?
Yeah, really.
Worried about his health.
Yeah.
But if he's healthy, he pitched big in October, and he's a big game pitcher, and they plan on being in big games. It could be one of these things, Bruce, where this guy helps them win a World Series in the first couple of years, and then winds up being a really bad, financial albatross on the back end. As far as Kansas City goes, I like Kansas City as an organization. I like Dayton Moore as a GM, and I like Ned Yost as a field manager. They gave him an extension, so he's now secure. I think they've got some good young players coming up through their system, and they're going to have a hard time replacing Sobris. They're going to have a hard time replacing Cueto, but I still think they're a 90-win type team.
Larry Krueger from KNBR. Thank you so much for joining us today at Sports Econ 101.
Anytime.
Great to have you here, Larry. All the best, man.
Take care, guys.
All right, Larry and I, as I said, we worked together for about 8 years. So, and I work in the same building. When I work at KGO and I fill in there, I see Larry all the time. Good guy, really knows his stuff.
Yeah, he sure does. Okay, here's our last trivia question. From 1891, the Pittsburgh franchise has been a consistent one named the Pirates. What was the franchise called from 1882 to 1890?
Ooh.
Okay, so just before they were called the Pirates.
And that one I do not know.
Oh, we knew we'd get you on
Oh, you got me.
You're listening to Sports Econ 101. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
Dang. I know I didn't know that one.
I knew there'd be at least one.
Yeah, there had to be one.
Well, this goes back a long way. So.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, just like I woke up this morning and I go, this is not a good day.
Oh.
Thanks for covering, for
No problem.
carrying us. Let's finish up our last 2 minutes and we'll be done. I gotta go to the bathroom.
I hate that when you have to-
Sorry.
That's okay.
I will be right.
Oops. Oh.
One nice thing about recording versus live, you can take a bathroom break.
Oh yeah. Did you see the pass that Steph Curry made yesterday to Draymond Green?
Yes. Around the
Yeah. And then there was another one. There was another play where Mo Spates made that incredible. And then there was one more play where the ball went inside, back out to the corner, back inside, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, it was
just
awesome.
I love watching that. I love watching.
And I gotta say, I've been much happier with Bogut's play.
Well, Bogut's he's not a great. He's not going to score points for you. He's going to block. No. He's going to play defense. He can pass.
And he's doing good on the alley.
Yeah, he knows what he can do. He knows his limitations.
Listen, I've been hard on him for the whole season, but I've been watching him closely now, and he's a smart guy. You know what's going to really help them a lot is if they get Festus Ezeli back. That guy is. Nobody talks about him, but he is a really good player. I was excited when they got Bergeron, but he's not quite there.
They'll be helpful. I mean, they've got it. I just don't see anybody beating the Warriors. I don't see OKC beating them. I don't see San Antonio because San Antonio has had a great season, but they're old. They're going to wear down. And by the time the Warriors play them, they're going to play them in the conference finals, and they're going to be gassed. Yeah. I just don't think that I don't worry about Oklahoma. The only team I really worry about is Oklahoma City, and I don't think they're going to lose to them either. Because they're pretty much a two-man team. They got Serge Ibaka and a couple other guys, but the Clippers. If the Warriors have to play them, if they get hot, I kind of would worry a little bit on them. But the Warriors match up well against them. Yeah. And Cleveland, I don't worry about at all. Cleveland is just dysfunctional. Yeah, I mean they're
okay. Ready?
Yeah.
Let's clear this baby up. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Last time for day, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Bruce McGowan. When we cut to the last commercial break, we had a stumper for our friend Bruce.
Yes, you did.
This baseball question. From 1891, the Pittsburgh franchise has been a consistent one named the Pirates. What was the franchise called from 1882 to 1890?
Boy.
So basically 8 years before they were called the Pirates.
8 years, for 8 years, huh? They had a different name for 8 years.
They did.
Okay.
And it was the Pittsburgh, name of a famous river.
The Alleghenies.
Yeah, that's right.
There you go. I did remember that.
Yep.
The Pittsburgh Alleghenies. How can you call yourself a river? How does a river hold a baseball bat or a glove or throw a ball?
Well,
I guess you
Mets, the Metropolitans. I mean, that's
that is kind of silly. Yeah, there's some funny names for teams.
Oh yeah, they had the Cleveland Spiders.
How about the St. John used to be called the Red? I guess they are called now the Red Storm. What the heck is a Red Storm? I mean, come on.
And or the Scarlet Knights and all those kind of things. Yeah, there's so many weird.
I love the Scarlet Knights. I think that's a cool name.
That actually, that's true. That actually is.
Who are the Scarlet Knights? That's a team. That's a team back east somewhere.
Yeah,
Rutgers.
Yeah.
Rutgers.
I was thinking about the Don Imus who made the comment, and then they saw the kind on the map. Remember, he kind of.
Oh no, I don't remember that.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, he made a derogatory.
About the Scarlet Knights?
Yeah, well, about Rutgers, the girls' basketball team.
Oh really?
Yeah. Oh. He didn't like the makeup of them.
Oh, okay.
So to speak.
No pun intended. I mean,
the makeup and women,
right.
Bunch.
Is this thing on?
Yeah.
Is this thing on?
What was the other one? Boston Pilgrims?
Boston Pilgrims, that's right. Yeah. And I mentioned the Brooklyn Bridegrooms, Cleveland. You saw Cleveland Spiders. I love that name.
Yeah. Didn't they have the Boston Bees? Too?
They did. They had a team called the Boston Bees that became the Boston Braves. And I also think the Boston Red Sox might have been called the Boston Bees at one time.
At one point, yeah.
One point. Of course, we had the San Francisco Seals out here on the West Coast in AAA ball. I love that name. That's a great. I mean, we had the hockey Seals, the NHL Seals, and then we didn't get another Marine critter until the San Jose Sharks showed up.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, we're going to get to our thoughts for the day here. These are bad riddles. How many NCAA basketball players does it take to change a light bulb?
How many?
Only one, but he gets a money, car, and 3 credits.
Oh, I love that. That's
okay, and how does a physicist exercise?
Don't know.
By pumping ion.
By pumping ion.
There you go. Tune in next week. 2 sports.
I'm pumping ion here. Pumping ion.
We're going to be discussing sports topics from a business perspective, giving away more free vacations for answering sports trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm your host, Edward Brown, and we'll see you next week.
Good night, America.
So long.
All right. That's a take.
That's it.
That's a take. All right. So you're not feeling too good, huh?
No, I woke up and I go, God,